Hi, this is Ashish Jain with Private LTE and 5G.com. I am at OnGo Forward event in Dallas, Texas, and I'm speaking with Kyung Mun with Mobile Experts. We're going to talk about the state of the market and how the industry is adopting private networks. Kyung, thanks for joining me today.
Hi, Ashish. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So I'm seeing a lot of interest and momentum in the market in terms of, from manufacturing to, enterprise campuses to utilities and many more in exploring the potential. I use the word exploring the potential of 4G and 5G in their enterprise systems. What are you seeing in the market and how do you see the momentum going?
Yeah, I do see as well. I mean, there's obviously different verticals who will have different requirements and different stages of adoption. As you mentioned, rightly mentioned, some industries are looking at exploring the opportunity, the potential of private cellular networking. Some industries have taken
A long time, and you had a forecast a few years back in terms of how the CBRS will get adopted. What's your take on it? Has it really progressed the way it should? And which industries have you seen faster adoption than others, where we didn't even expect it? And which industries did slower adoption than others, where we expected they to do it?
Yeah, so when we looked at the market, many years ago, about this was pre-COVID. Obviously, COVID has a lot to do with some of the dynamics of the market. When we initially looked at the private cellular networking, or CBRS or adoption in general, we looked at the market being adopted by fixed wireless access, because that was where a lot of the incumbent players were using that particular band. So we expect that to be the initial wave of adoption of a CBRS band. Then we saw the mobile operators leveraging that for some of their augmentation or capacity augmentation strategy. So we have seen that market adoption as well. Private wireless in general, we saw that as being the third leg of the CBRS adoption. Some interesting market that we didn't expect to see the market adoption in wasn't in the education. I think that's a lot to do with the COVID that I mentioned earlier. There was definitely an external funding that really helped boosted the market adoption. So we saw a lot of school districts leveraging the CBRS band and the OnGo gear that was coming to market. So they leveraged that to help solve some of the digital divide that they saw. So I think we saw that was a very interesting one. The ones that we expected to see that we didn't really see a fast adoption was on some of these what I would call operations, like industrial operational needs. But I think that's a lot to do with some of the other aspects of the readiness of the market, right? You got to have the device readiness. You got to have the right business partnerships that needs to be formed. So that took a little longer. And one market that we expected as one of the drivers, pillars of private wireless adoption was this thing we talked about, the neutral host networking. We expected that to be one of the key drivers because we saw the smartphone adoption of CBRS band as one of the impetus of making use of the CBRS band. That took a lot longer than we had expected. And we expected some operators would have aligned onto the a low cost effectiveness of the a MOCN approach of leveraging the CBRS band. That took a little longer. In fact, it's taking a little longer, but I think that's we should expect that, right? Because I think operators are going to be very careful about bringing on such a solution.
Absolutely. No, I think I've personally seen a lot of maturity in wide areas, right? From device perspective, from technology standpoint, from how the CBRS spectrum itself has grown. So based on where we are today, in terms of all the advancements that we have seen, what do you see the outlook look like for the market? And where do you see this will take us in terms of all these three areas you mentioned: fixed wireless, private networks, neutral host?
Yeah, I think CBRS or any other spectrum for that matter will have a role. There's going to be a need for fixed or wireless access or mobile, broadband to the homes or broadband to the businesses. That's going to be part of the story for CBRS use. Same as the mobile broadband services or augmentation of mobile networking. That's going to be also a part of the approach. And I think it's really the approach that's going to require specific needs of the different industries and companies and markets. So it really depends on the readiness, as I mentioned earlier, the readiness of the market, the whole ecosystem maturity, all those things to come into play. Some of the bigger companies are taking a more active approach, whereas some of the smaller companies are waiting for the market to mature so that they can take advantage of that. It's going to require everyone's effort, both from a system integrators, the solution vendors, as well as the operators and the enterprise come up the learning curve, both from a market adoption, education, the device, the solution readiness, and the partnerships. They all need to come together. But our view is that it's going to come into fruition over time because the market really requires all different approaches, whether we're talking CBRS, whether we're talking Wi-Fi, whether we're talking fiber. The need for the connectivity is always is there, and it will continue to be there, and it's going to grow over time. So all the different technologies and approaches needs to come together to fill the void there.
Awesome. So for all the investors and executives watching this video, right? I mean, they always try to say, is it a flat market? Is it a declining market? Is it a growing market? And if it's growing, like, is it a decent growth or a very slow growth? What's your take on that?
Yeah, we see right now as being kind of steady growth. It's a steady, pretty, compared to the relative telco market today, it's a growth sector. When we look at some of the recent earnings announcements where some of the vendors are seeing a dramatic decrease in the funding or the investment by the large operators, but we see this kind of green shoots in terms of a steady growth in the private wireless market overall. And we expect that to grow over time, especially in the next 2-3 years, when we expect the ecosystem to be much more mature at that stage to bring on more enterprises to adopt the solution.
Absolutely, and I think I'm seeing the same thing. Thanks for taking time to speaking with me today.
All right, thanks for having me. Bye-bye.